Thank you. Okay, now I think we're ready.
Well, welcome everybody to our mid-year all hands meeting. We've got a busy agenda as usual, but keeping in mind that safety always comes first, we're going to start with our safety minute. Paul Deemer is going to talk to us about the benefits of lockout tagout. So go ahead, Paul. And you are muted if you are talking.
Hello, sorry. So part of our lockout here at the 4 meter that I was involved with is for the telescope and the dome drives. Uh, so the problem that we had in the past was that the systems were not visible and they could be tampered with while people were working. So the thing is, what is lockout tagout for us? And that is to be sure that the equipment is de-energized and can't be restarted while we're working. And the location is more convenient now on the sea floor, which is, I call it the mezzanine floor of the 4 meter. But it's where you can control these systems. We now have key system switches that now remove the energy from the drive systems and from the dome systems, and they're visually cued by a red light. These keys are also
Well, let's see. Looks like
and give them the
Paul,
all clear.
you've come back. You dropped out for a while there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Where did I?
You might just rewind 30 seconds.
Okay, my connection's not stable. Why is that? Come on, come back. Okay. I believe I'm back.
Yes.
Okay. So where we were is that the lockout for the telescope drives and dome drives were not easily accessible and could be tampered with. So we moved them to a central location on the seafloor of the telescope. Both are key switched. They have lockout, tagout boxes over the key switches. There's also a visual indicator that the lockout is in progress through a red light. So anybody from a distance can see that it's been done, that we're in a lockout. It's secured with a lock, this box that's over the switches. Bright red light, simple to operate, simple to understand, and is easily implemented. And we've been using it now for the past 2 weeks. It's not too involved.
Great. Well, thank you for that safety minute.
Okay.
I will say that last week I was at Mauna Kea and had the privilege of climbing inside the mirror cell, and I was grateful that the safety team went through the formal lockout tagout, locked me out because it's cramped in there, and I would not have wanted to been left behind and spent the night inside the mirror cell. So lockout tagout is extremely important. Thanks, Paul.
No, you're welcome.
Okay. Let's go ahead. Let's just run through the agenda quickly here. I'm going to talk about a few things and then hand it over to Scott, who'll give us an update from Hawaii. Stuart's going to talk to us about how our data management and software team is evolving. We're going to hear then from Vinny and Felipe about some exciting events going on. And then Kristen's going to give us an update from HR and how we can work effectively with each other. And then we'll get to hear the staff awards. I think Vinny is going to lead that discussion. So if we go to the next slide, I wanted to start by acknowledging that the Rubin Legacy Survey of Space and Time has officially started. And if Lori clicks, I think that will appear. Okay, we had this announcement just a few weeks ago. And what this means is that we're starting a 10-year process of mapping the sky night after night, both in space and in time. Each part of the sky will be observed many times, in most cases, about 800 different samples over 10 years. The image that you see before you is just the press release image. It's a part of the Milky Way rather than the deep space that we usually see. You see stars, you see these kind of blue clouds. Those are dust in our own galaxy, and we're seeing them blue because they're reflecting light from the stars, much in the same way that the sky is blue. But this is a major step forward, and depending on how you count, it's either been 15, 20, 25, or even 30 years in the making. From the initial concept to the start of the survey was nearly 30 years of dedicated hard work by the team. And so this is a huge milestone. We're very excited to be underway. It took a lot of work and we got a lot of recognition around the world. If we go to the next slide, we got great press coverage from this. The New York Times, the Washington Post, press around the world. And so people have recognized that this big survey, this census of the cosmos, is now underway. And the community will start to see data coming from this shortly. The first taste of this real LSST data, the data preview number 2, will be coming out in the next few weeks. And then in a year or so, there'll be the first release, a little more than a year, of the first full year's worth of data. So this is a major milestone. Congratulations to everyone on the team who got us there. But Rubin by itself can't do everything. We know that one of the key missions is to find objects that are moving, that are changing in brightness or changing in color, whether it's because they're exploding like supernova or pulsating like variable stars or moving because they're in our own solar system. And so we spent a lot of time building a network around Rubin so we can track and follow these transient objects, things that change in time. I'm going to show you a little video. I won't say very much because the video kind of explains it all coherently of how we go from an observation with Rubin to an alert, a warning that something has changed, to followed up observations with Gemini, with SOAR, with Blanco, and all the software and data handling that goes behind that. So if we go, I think it's to the next slide, Lori, we'll watch this video, and it's got some cool music as well. And so what you want to watch, though, lower left side, the clock, that shows how long it is in minutes and seconds from the start of the Rubin observation to the actual observation and reduced data with Gemini. Go ahead. So if we could just pause here for a second. So that showed the process of which the 3.2 gigapixel images are taken by Rubin, sent to California, analyzed, the variable sources are found, They're sent to the astronomers who figure out which ones they want to observe. The software writes all the observing commands, sends that back to the telescopes. They carry out the observations, and from start of the Rubin observation to start of the Gemini or SOAR or Blanco observation was just 12 minutes. And that's astonishing. And that's just the result of some very clever software, a lot of hard work, and no one else in the world has this capability. This is the thing that we have built that is unique and powerful and is going to drive much of the Rubin science. And Rubin is now producing about 250,000 alerts per night. In a year or so, it'll be producing about 5 million alerts per night. So this system will be used. It will be very powerful. And kudos to the CE team for making this really cool video. It really captures the whole process from end to end in just 90 seconds. So, okay, let's go on to the next topic, which is not nearly so fun. Many of you know that we lost a key member of our team not long ago. Dick Joyce. Dick has been an engineer here in Arizona who's been not just part of the Kitt Peak operation, but a part of the technical side of astronomy for many years. He's known around the world for his work in infrared astronomy, particularly infrared detectors and instruments. The past decade or so, he's been a key part of the DESI team, and unfortunately, we lost him very unexpected, very sudden. And so we've been talking to his family. We're going to hold a celebration of life event here in Arizona for Dick, probably in the August or maybe September timeframe. Lori Allen is organizing this. So if you have any questions, talk to Lori, but I hope that soon we'll be able to get out an announcement for the date and time. And if you worked with Dick, if you knew Dick, I do hope that you come and we can all spend some time reflecting back on what an extraordinary colleague he was and friend and such an important part of our whole operation. So with that, on that somber note, I'm going to turn it over to Scott, who's going to give us an update on things happening in Hawaii.
All right. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate the handover and the introduction. I want to give an update here of things that have happened in Hawaii over the last few months. So let's move on to the next slide, please. All right. In the category of above and beyond the call of duty, I wanted to start by acknowledging the actions of the Gemini North Summit crew last week. It's not human nature to run into a firefight, but that's exactly what this team did last Friday as they were coming down from the summit. They turned the corner into 7 mm Valley and were flagged down by a hiker whose father had collapsed on the trail out toward Lake Waiau. The crew immediately sprang into action. Their training took over. 3 ran straight, effectively a half-mile down the trail at over 13,000 feet to start providing first aid. Others went back up to the summit for oxygen, as well as retrieving the emergency evacuation vehicle from JCMT. And others still immediately started calling emergency services, trying to contact the Mauna Kea Rangers. The team performed CPR for nearly 40 minutes until first responders arrived from Puakaloa training area to take over the response. Unfortunately, the hiker could not be resuscitated, but our team did everything right. Andy and I received a note from one of the observatory site managers stating, "Your summit crew are heroes." And there's nothing more that I can add to that statement. I am incredibly proud of this team and their actions last week. So mahalo to you all, Clayton, Cooper, Ado, Matt, Jesse, Sergio, Shane, and Sai. I am very, very grateful for your actions. Next slide, please. All right. Gemini North was recently in the news with this spectacular image of NGC 1514. Planetary nebula, some 450 parsecs distant in Taurus. The image made the front page of CNN's webpage a couple of weeks ago. I immediately recognized it as being a GMOS image, and I immediately suspected that both Jen Miller and Maddie had obtained the image and then worked with the rest of the team to produce this spectacular image. James Webb Space Telescope also has an image of NGC 1514. It reveals some intriguing dust rings enveloping the progenitor binary, but Again, an extraordinary image captured by GMOS on Gemini North that made the news just recently. Next slide, please. Also in the news, in May, Gemini North Telescope suffered the failure of one of two master cylinders for the primary mirror lateral actuators. You can see where this is located on the inside of the mirror cell in the image on the right there. I believe that's Ross's head sticking in there. That's taking a look at the master cylinder. That's just to the left of his head there. This is where Pat and I were last week when Pat was up on the summit with us. So you look on the bottom image there, that's actually the master cylinder once it's been removed from the cell. And what had failed was a very precision-made bearing that went up and down the screw that you see in the center of the master cylinder. And that precision-made screw had just come apart over the course of 25 years of use. Our very own Ron Harris came to the rescue and was able to fabricate a replacement bearing for this precision manufactured bearing. And then that replacement bearing was installed, and then we were able to get back on Sky in early June. Next slide, please. Now, due to the significant time loss in March from a series of coronal lows that produced storm activity over Mauna Kea for several weeks, we lost a lot of time in March. And then, as a result of the PCS failure, this master cylinder failure, which we lost nearly 3 weeks of additional time, we canceled the ANG shutdown. So you can see here the completion of Band 1, 2, and 3 programs at Gemini North. And in March, progress is virtually halted, and then again in May as we encountered the PCS failure. But we have since had a spectacular span of excellent weather conditions, and we're able to recover much of our lost time. So as of last week, I think Band 1 programs are already at 70% completion for the 2026A semester. So great job again by the Gemini North Engineering Operations team in getting us back on Sky. Next slide. Okay, we recently received some very positive news from the National Science Foundation regarding GPI-2, the Gemini Planet Imager that is destined to be installed on Gemini North. The NSF has funded an Advanced Technology and Infrastructure, or ATI, grant for the GPI-2 team to complete the instrument upgrade. GPI-2 is an upgraded version of GPI, which was at Gemini South from 2014 to 2022 when it was created and shipped to the University of Notre Dame for a significant upgrade. In this upgrade process, we had a new science detector installed, as well as new pyramid wavefront sensors and wavefront sensor cameras. We have also, I should say, the Cal2 unit. This is the calibration unit for GPI-2. This was also fabricated by the Herzberg Astronomy and Astrophysics Research Center. Cal2 is nearing completion as well, and we anticipate it being installed in GPI-2 in late calendar year 2026. And we anticipate delivery of GPI-2 to Gemini North in the summer of 2027. So exciting news for GPI-2 and new instrumentation coming to Gemini North. Next slide, please. We have some updates as well in the Gemini North Adaptive Optics System, or GNAO. This is our next generation AO facility for Gemini North. GNAO passed its critical design review, or the AOB passed its critical design review in late April. This was a major milestone for the project. Next on the docket, we have the facility controller CDR in September, followed by the GNAO facility CDR in November. And thus far, everything is looking good. We're on track, and we anticipate GNAO having first light on Gemini North in January of 2029. Though it seems distant, it will be here before you know it. So that's great news for the adaptive optics facility here at Gemini North. Next slide. All right, other events in Hawaii. Last week, Leilani and Lelehua organized the Ohana Stargazing event at Mo'okini Heiau. This is seen the photo on the top there and on top right. Mo'okini Mookini Heiau is a culturally significant and sacred site near Hawaii. We had about 125 people attend this event last weekend on Saturday. And then following a protocol ceremony, we had a tour of the heiau that was provided by Kahuna Nui Leimomi Lum, and that was exceptional. And then after watching the sunset over the ocean, stargazing followed. We were somewhat hampered by clouds, but we did get in a few deep sky objects, not NGC 1514, but a few other brighter things. But still, spectacular event. And my thanks to the Hawaii Engagement Team for participation in this and getting this event organized. Again, well received by the public. So thank you once again. Mahalo. Next slide, please. All right. Finally, I wanted to give an update on Mauna Kea as we work toward lease renewal with the Mauna Kea Stewardship and Oversight Authority, or MKSOA. In June, House Bill 2592 passed and was signed into law by Governor Green as Act 53. This act clarifies MKSOA's authority over related to land use, and you see on the right there, that's the science preserve that's in the outline in white at the very summit of Mauna Kea. Some of the other aspects of Act 53 was that it extended the transition period from the University of Hawaii to MKSOA by 18 months. So now this handover period will run until the 1st of December in 2029. The Act also includes reversion language, such that if certain milestones are not met, and essentially the management of the mountain would revert to the University of Hawaii. And then also the Act 53 authorizes lease extensions for up to 10 years if MKSOA needs to implement them. Other components of the lease renewal process include the development of a comprehensive management plan for the summit. This is actually underway right now by SSFM, a contractor of MKSOA. We anticipate this being completed by the end of the calendar year. And most recently, MKSOA provided the Mauna Kea Observatories an initial set of questions revolving around a sublease renewal. Those questions have since been forwarded to the National Science Foundation. They're very general in nature. And we'll get some immediate responses back to MKSOA in the not too distant future on those initial set. And I'm expecting a lot more questions coming from MKSOA as we proceed. So with that, I think I will hand the floor over to Stuart for the DMS update. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Scott. I'll try to get through this without coughing too much. Could head on. So I'll head to the next slide. I mean, my goal here is to explain a little bit about why we are transitioning to the new approach to data management and software. Talk a little bit about how, my personal experience in this sort of transition in my career, and then give an idea of more how we anticipate the input coming to DMS, and these sort of workflows that I'm going to describe are still in development a little bit. So, there are opportunities to deliver feedback, probably not live in person here, but along the way, rather than the internal workings of DMS, which there are other people within the software side of things that are better suited to deliver that message. But to get started here, long ago, the astronomer and a set of basically students, maybe some postdocs, maybe a handful of additional contributors, could basically do everything. I mean, you could build the hardware, you could write the software, you could write the data analysis packages, and then publish the paper and repeat. I mean, we had smaller systems in general. They were simpler in design, and they had generally fairly large tolerances on things. Machines were built to be tanks rather than having adaptive systems and various things. And bottom line, the scientist and a small group could basically do it all from the end-to-end sense. But if we go to the next slide, I mean, we're now in a situation where the systems are much more complex. The tolerances are a lot tighter. We have a broader user community. Now we are supposed to be delivering, process data to our users. The users are not supposed to have tremendous knowledge of everything that went into to collect it. And we have to do that reliably for extremely complex systems. And so we've evolved over time, and now I'm using we beyond the scope of astronomers and small groups, but to now the whole observatory on this call, to large teams across lots of disciplines that are really, making things work. And, a lot of times we think about this transition in the hardware sense, and I think that's part of everyone's everyday life. But the software has also transitioned very much in this sense, where it's no longer the infamous quote from my youth of "it's just software." Just software is actually, the dominant component in a lot of things, and so we need to similarly execute, a structure and a process and an approach where we give this extra complexity and these extra requirements their proper place within our overall workflow. So next slide, please. So I kind of walked this transition myself. So when I was a student, I was writing the code, I was writing control, I was passing it on for direct implementation. My user base was a handful of folks down the hall, and so if something didn't work for them, I could just go down and we could figure out what was wrong with it on the fly. But through the course of about 10 or 15 years, I ended up with 15,000 users and 2,000 proposals a year. And everyone didn't need to be a synthesis imaging expert to use the data. In fact, we would have been completely in deep trouble if the entire user community needed to be able to become a synthesis imaging expert. So we had to make the tools so that the people that were using the data didn't actually need to understand much about how their image came to them. They didn't need to know how the sausage was made. They just needed to know what the tolerances were on their on the products that we were delivering to them, and then they could go off and focus on the science, which was really their job. This was kind of a crash course for me. I arrived at Alma feeling very much in the first category on this, and then 4 years later, as project scientist, very much had to deal with the latter. And so the transition for me was pretty stark, and I came quickly to have a lot of respect for a software development team that would tell me what they could really get done in time, what they couldn't get done, and what the trade-offs would be if I tried to throw scope at them especially late in the game. Being honest about, yeah, I could do that, but I'm going to have these 5 things fall off the table for you to get that. So it made it more predictable, the system, and like I said, my appreciation really grew for those folks. So next slide. So, learning along the way from all of this, small things often don't scale up. Things that I can do for myself and my colleagues around the building don't necessarily work for a random astronomer in Croatia or Taiwan. Scope creep or changing of scope on short time scales really kills your delivery success rate. I had to become comfortable with giving things away on purpose. I would do a lot of prototyping even later on and just say, okay, this is going to go to somebody else in the end. I'm going to wash my hands of it eventually if it got priority within the rest of the system for development. And then at some level, it was great to see things running faster, to see it reaching more, a broader audience, being more robust to failures. And then the added bonus, which I didn't really appreciate at the beginning, was that I didn't have to maintain it anymore. So that was all the better for that. But bottom line, the scientist as prototyper is still something that we all are going to have to do. But I think we all are going to have to know that eventually those prototypes get handed off to a team that has dedicated skills, which may still be scientists at their core training, but we really trying to move up the level of those items so that they're the most impactful for us globally. It's not to say that we aren't doing this now, but I think we know that we need to have a team which is more dedicated to helping us implement things in more modern ways. So now we're going to talk about the workflows for that. So next slide, please. So number one, and I actually drew this stuff on the whiteboard, and then I had AI help me turn it into to something that would actually be on a slide. So that's the nature of the beast here. So we'll have lots of input coming in from the community. So I have there's a slight hyperbole here, but I think not much. You know, the astronomical community wants everything, and so my approximation for everything here was to make a list of 10,000 things that maybe the community would like us to do. And that's all great, but at some level, we have to figure out which of those we would like to do. And we have an active scientific staff, and so they're interacting with the users at conferences, and they understand what what really delivers value that the community wants, and what we can do, and what's maybe not in our strength area. And then they're also active users, and so they're developing ideas and prototyping approaches that may actually also be useful for a broader community. But at some point, we have to figure out how to distill these things down into a tighter, set of activities. And so the idea here is that we have a group of representative staff amongst the scientists that cover sort of a set of areas, the RSS leadership and the DMS project scientist. They're going to review all of these ideas that come in and distill them and try to get them down into a couple of developable packets. And this is really going to be the start of determining what we're going to call the products that we're going to actually develop next. And so after that distillation process, this group would do a prioritization of what they think would be the highest impact, highest return development activities. And then we would actually end up blending this process with probably 3 or 4 other slides that are very similar that talk about activities on the telescope or needs from engineering to provide better maintenance. And then at the end, we have to do an overall prioritization for what software we want to develop. Next slide. So once we have a product defined, how are we really putting this together? Well, there are 2 key people in that process. One is the product owner. So I'm actually going to start on the right side of the screen here. Now, depending on what the product is, the domain expertise of the product owner obviously evolves or changes from product to product. But for the purposes of using an example, let's say that we are trying to develop a new tool to extract data from dozens of different databases, our own as well as those at other sites, and developing tools that help us look into those data sets simultaneously. So amongst the scientists, the same group that we mentioned before would help to select a product owner. And this would be a person whose job is basically to collect further detailed requirements. They know what the functionality is supposed to be. They talk about the priorities with the team lead, we'll get to in a second. And they participate actively in the next slide that we'll discuss, the actual development process. So on the flip side, once we have a product developed, we have a product owner identified, they talk to the leadership within the DMS side, and that DMS side with the more detailed requirements, again, I would say mid-level requirements, would start to put together the team. So they would pull in whatever resources they need from the various groups within DMS. And then you have your development team. And so the development team is under the team lead, and the team lead and the product owner form a really tight pair in terms of determining what to be done, verifying that it does what it was supposed to do, and making course corrections, changes along the way. But another key element of being a product owner is the protector of the team. So as new requests come in, the product owner needs to add those to their to-do list, but doesn't necessarily let them immediately flow to the development team to help protect the intermediate delivery cycle without changing too much direction. Next slide. So the idea here is once we have all of that set up, we prioritize, further detail the requirements. We have the team assembled. The product owner and the team lead agree on what's going to be in the release. They agree on the testing plan. and then you fire off the development cycle. You do the testing and validation at the end. You take a look at what you got done, any new things that need to be developed, add those to the list or the backlog, and then you repeat. And the idea is that this would repeat on some kind of cycle like monthly. This is not a 2 year long process where you just write the requirements and you fire and you forget. And then 2 years later, you realize you got something that you didn't want. The idea here is that on a monthly basis, the product owner is verifying that what was developed actually delivers what they wanted. Next slide. So the hope of all of this is that we end up with science and operational needs being fulfilled more directly by having this tight cycle of feedback. Hopefully, we also deliver things faster, but at least definitely better targeted to the high value items that we really wanted to develop throughout the product. That's done a lot by making sure that the deployment is modular, and so you can actually deliver functionality incrementally. It allows us to bring across cross-functional expertise where we need it, be that from the science side, the engineering side, the software side. It gives us this continuous feedback loop, which should give us improved quality. And it really allows for transparent priorities and allowing us to measure our progress on a month-to-month basis rather than, like I said, waiting a year and then having a milestone hit. So, like I said, team lead and the product owner are really key roles in this. And, how we select those people is something that we need to make sure that we have a good way to do that. And again, finally, the cadence here is really supposed to be monthly evaluation, monthly release. In some cases, it might be longer. In some cases, it may be shorter, but that's kind of the increment we should be thinking about. It allows this flexibility and really this continuous return of value. And so I think the final thing I'll say here is that this is not a breaking of the relationship between the customer, and in most cases, that's going to be the scientist, our scientists and the scientists in the community, and the developer. It's a redefining of how that partnership works and making it more of a collaborative effort between two highly skilled individuals rather than a more hierarchical system. And I think that was my last slide. No. All right. Yeah, I won't go into this one too much. This one actually kind of tries to bring together the flows from before. So I think I'm kind of at time anyway, and it's probably too small to read, but in the playback, if you want to take a look at this, there's a lot of detail in how some of the processes interact, or at least how we're thinking that they'll interact. So I'll go ahead and hand over at this point to Vinny and Felipe. I don't know who is going to start between the two of them. Probably Vinny.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, it's me. All right. Thank you, Stuart. Hello, everybody. I'm here just to present a few slides about Noir Labs' participation at the AAS meeting in Pasadena a couple weeks ago, mid-June. So we were there. We had a very nice booth together with our colleagues from the US ELT program. We had folks from GMT and TMT. So we had a very nice booth together, as you can see on the top left. Everybody's smiling in that picture, even though it's Sunday night, but there was some food and drinks involved. So maybe that's what the smiles are all about. Well, Lori's pointing out that Pat is not smiling, but hey, not my fault, Pat. Oh, but
I'm working on it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
It's always
Most-
your fault, Vinny. It's always
Yeah.
your fault.
I take the blame. Most of us are smiling. All right. So we did have a very nice week, a lot of good interactions with our user community. We had a very nice open house on Monday night. We had about 60 people, which is very surprising for summer AAS meetings. And here you can see some snapshots from that presentation. And here on the chat, I'll just put the link to the slides, so you're welcome to look at the slides. We talked a lot about Rubin. We also talked about Gemini, program platform, USCLTP, data reduction. So it was a really interesting meeting. And here on the top right, you can see one of our very engaged employees chatting with the potential user. I don't know who he is, but thank you very much for your service, whoever you are. And next slide, please, Laurie. I just have one more slide. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this was Dara's last meeting as the AAS president. And I think I wanted, on behalf of everybody on the astronomy community, to thank Dara for her service as the president of the AAS. These last 2 years have been really challenging for science, and I think under Dara's leadership, we accomplished a lot. So thank you, Dara. We are really happy to have you back, but I'm sure many people at the AAS will miss you. So thank you so much for your work, and welcome back. And now I'll hand over to Felipe to talk about SPIE.
Thank you, Vinny. Hello, everyone. Yeah, SPIE Astronomical Telescope and Instrumentation was held in Copenhagen, Denmark this year, July 5 to July 10, a week ago. This year conference was particularly significant, marking the completion of Rubin Observatory's construction phase and the start of the Legacy Survey of Space and Time, LSST. So as a result, there was a tremendous interest throughout the conference in Rubin technical presentations and first operational results. This year also marked an important step forward in how we organize our participation in the conference. Inspired by the approach used by the Rubin construction project, an open call for paper proposal was introduced, followed by a committee review led by Andre Nicolas and Michiel to select the contributions that best represented the work being carried out across NORLab. Another very positive outcome was the broad representation achieved across the organization. All NORLab programs were represented together with a wide range of technical and scientific disciplines, highlighting the diversity of expertise and collaborations across the lab. Next slide, please. Beyond the technical program, the conference provided valuable opportunities for networking and collaborations. Many interactions took place not only among NORLab staff, but also with colleagues from other observatories and institutions. One example was the workshop on hydrostatic bearings, which brought together engineers from different observatories to exchange operational experience and best practices for a technology widely used in telescope mount systems. The conference also provided valuable opportunities to strengthen connections among NORLab participants. Several informal social gatherings, meetings, and group photo sessions were organized, fostering interactions between colleagues from different programs who do not often have the opportunity to meet in person. Finally, as a balance, NORLab supported 25 staff members traveling to Denmark to present this work. In addition, approximately 25 to 30 colleagues attended with support from Rubin construction project, while several others were funded directly by their respective programs. Together, this represents an important investment in sharing the outstanding work taking place across the lab and increasing NORLab's visibility within the international astronomical community. Preparing a paper, presentation, or poster required a significant commitment of time and effort. So thank you to everyone who dedicated that extra effort and helped showcase the exceptional work being carried out across NORLab. So with that, I now like to handle the call to Christine Perry, who will give us an update on HR.
Thanks, Felipe. All right. Hello, everyone, and thanks for your time today. So I'm happy to present the next segment in our Moments That Matter HR series on behalf of Therese Sampaia, who could not be here today. So next slide, please. All right. So back at the April All Hands meeting, we talked a bit about showing respect through our everyday interactions. And today I'd like to build on that idea because respect becomes even more important when we disagree. Particularly, we're going to focus on the big impact that small conversations can have. And remember, conflict is a normal part of working together. How we respond determines whether conflict builds stronger relationships or ends up creating lasting tension. We want to address issues early. One of the biggest reasons workplace conflicts become difficult isn't because the issue was large. It was because no one addressed it when it was small. Most of us have experienced situations where, maybe even a 5-minute conversation could have presented weeks of frustration. So small concerns become bigger when they're left unspoken. So strive to respectfully address concerns before any frustration builds. Next slide, please. All right. So we want to seek to understand first. When conflict happens, our natural tendency is to try to explain our own perspective to the person. Instead, we want to start by trying to understand theirs. One of the most powerful questions you can ask is, help me understand how you saw the situation. And you want to try to listen with curiosity. Ask questions before making assumptions about another person's intentions. Remember, we speak from our own experiences, while others listen from theirs. Next slide, please. As you move through the conversation, focus on the issue and not the person. Once conversations become personal, productive problem solving usually stops. That vibe shifts. So keep the focus of your discussion on behaviors, expectations, solutions, not personalities. If it's behavioral, try to be specific with an example, not just an accusation. The goal is not to assign blame or make any personal criticisms when we're talking with our coworkers. Next slide, please. All right. And remember, the goal is that we work towards resolution. The objective isn't to determine who is right, and it's to determine what happens next so everyone can move forward successfully. You want to focus on that next shift. Look for any common ground that you can find. Try to agree on next steps and try to move forward together. That's that end result that we're looking for coming out of these conversations. The goal is progress, and that can be small. But we want to focus on progress, not necessarily winning a conversation. Even small progress can create a lasting impact at the end of the day. Next slide, please. Now, most of us don't look forward to difficult conversations. If you do, tell me how. They're uncomfortable, and sometimes it's easier to hope the issue will just resolve itself. But more often than not, avoiding the conversation really just allows the problem to grow. One respectful conversation can end up preventing weeks of frustration, misunderstanding, damaged trust, which can be really hard to rebuild. Each of us has that opportunity to shape our own workplace culture, not through these big grand gestures, but through the everyday choices we make when challenges arise. Choosing to listen, assuming positive intent, and to work towards solutions are choices that make a real difference. And they're intentional choices. You have to make them. Because at the end of the day, conflict doesn't define a team. How a team responds to conflict does. Conflict will always be there. It's how you respond to it that matters. Thank you. That's all I have for today. Now I'd like to hand the call back to Vinny, who will present on behalf of the Noir Lab Awards Committee. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you very much, Kristen. It's me again, folks, to talk about our Noir Lab Peer Awards. Next slide, please. Just a quick reminder that we have 2 awards, the Stellar Award, which is 1 award per site per quarter, and this is based on the Noir Lab values, and we also have the Superstar Award for individuals or teams based on extraordinary effort and direct impact in the line of work and community. And remember that these are peer awards, so if you have a colleague and you always think, well, I think this person deserves a prize, then yes, please nominate them for a prize. And here on the meeting chat, I'll just add the link to the form. So if you can think of somebody right now, click on the form and nominate them, right? So that's how you recognize work. And this is peer-to-peer, so ourselves recognizing our own colleagues. All right, so let's start giving some awards. So the first one is for Arizona. So next slide, please. And it goes to Sean McManus. I have some notes here, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to read it, some of the nominating words. So Sean is responsible for the flow of science data from observations at CTIO, particularly from DECAM and New Firm, to the NOIR Lab Astro Archive in Tucson, and maintaining the integrity of the data. So Sean has been leading this for a while now. The pipelines that produce science-ready data for observers and the community in a timely manner, depending on this data management. So Sean has been known for working on weekends and vacations when things break. Everybody calls Sean and then he fixes it. So thank you very much for your work, Sean. We're really happy to work with you, and congratulations on your award. So this is the Stellar Award for Arizona. So now we are going to the Stellar Award for Chile. Next slide. All right, so Patricia Valencia. Uh, Congratulations on getting the award for Chile. Uh, Patricia was nominated for this recognition because she consistently embodies the core values of our organization. She always communicates openly, transparently, and honesty, building trust in every interaction. She's a living example of the values that this organization seeks to recognize and promote. Felicitaciones, Patricia. We're really lucky to have you on board. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now, Stellar Award for Hawaii. Next slide, please. Paul Hurst. All right. Yeah, congratulations, Paul. So let's see. Uh, so Paul works with the Gemini archive and has worked tirelessly to automatically provide reduced data to the user community. And people here on the science staff, we know how valuable is for people to offer us reduced data products. And Paul has been working tirelessly with the SUSD team to make this happen for everybody. So thank you very much, Paul, for your work. It is fully recognized and you deserve this award. So congratulations. And the last award is our Superstar Award. So let's see who's in the next slide. David Moe. All right. So David, yeah, congratulations on the Superstar Award. And for those of you who know David, you can really appreciate how deserving he is of this award. And some words for David. So since the facilities manager in Hawaii left in November of 2025, David has stepped up in the interim role and is doing an amazing job. He has been with Aura for 26 years and is definitely deserving of recognition. So congratulations, David. Thank you for your service for so many years. We really appreciate you, okay? So these are the 4 awards. The next slide, I think it just says, congratulations, everybody. And the very last slide, I think it's kind of a repetition from the previous one. Just remember, if you know of somebody who you think deserves an award, click on the link a little bit above on the chat and nominate them, right? This is, again, it's in recognition from us to ourselves. So please make sure that you recognize great work by nominating your colleagues, okay? And well, we have several ways to do that. You can click on the form, you have paper versions, and you can approach any of us within the awards committee, myself, Nicole Auza, Sandra, Mariela, or Therese, and just send your nomination as well. All right, I think that's it for me. I think I'll hand over back to Pat.
Thank you, Vinny. And congratulations to our award winners. It's great to see this awards process working again. So before we open the floor to questions, I just want to go back to 1 or 2 points. And the key one was 2 things from Scott. One is the extraordinary response from the Mauna Kea team to a hiker in distress. That really has got to be stressful, hard, but they really were heroes and did everything that they could. I also want to note, though, the great teamwork on returning the Gemini M1 primary mirror control system to operation. You know, Scott showed the part that had failed and how Ron had machined a new part and the team installed it. Getting a proper long-term replacement part is going to take 6 months. And so if we had not been able to come up with this interim solution and implement it, we could have faced 6 months of Gemini North being off the sky. That would really have been awful. So this is a great example of working across the team, solving problems, working those extra hours, working in cramped spaces. And I can now tell you from personal experience, it's a cramped space in there. And so kudos to the team for getting that done, getting back on the sky. And I'll tell you, when we order the replacement part, which I guess we have, when we get it, we're going to buy several. So we'll have spares. Should this happen again, we'll be ready. And we should think about what other parts might we need to have spares, because things were built 25 years ago. They're not easy to get. We've got to really think proactively about what might fail and be ready. But hats off to the team there in the machine shop and the design team and the team up on the summit for getting this back on the air. So with that, I think we'll just open the floor to questions and hand it over to Lori if you want to manage what's in the chat or call for questions.
Right, so I've got 3 here that were in the chat that haven't been addressed yet. Back on that Rubin Alerts targeting follow-up video, is this video clip public? And it is on YouTube, right?
Ron is the creator of this. Can you let us know how people can find this video?
That's on norlab.edu, and I will post a link in the chat.
Cool beans.
Okay.
Thank you, Ron.
People should use it when they give talks, share it with their colleagues and so on. I think it's a really great way to convey the power of the system.
Okay, next is there must be a lot of alert objects. Besides which objects are overhead, what do the astronomers use to prioritize the alert sources?
Great question. So the alert broker tells you there's an alert, and you can then write a software filter that says, I only want to see things that are rising in magnitude quickly, that have certain colors that look like supernova, for example. So if I want to study supernova, I can write a filter that'll take the hundreds of thousands of alerts and only give me the ones that I care about. They could be supernova, they could be pulsating stars, they could be asteroids. So any scientist can write that software pretty simply with the tools we provided to find the alerts that they want to study. And so it's a whole wide range of phenomena. We've taken out some things that people really probably don't want to study, like all the commercial satellites and planes and all that kind of stuff that's not astronomical. We try to remove all of that. And so the alerts that we send are only things that are happening outside the Earth's immediate environment, just so we don't get distracted. And just in case you're asking, yes, all the UFOs have been taken out as well, and we keep those secret.
Okay, the last question that I have that was in the chat, are there ways for people at the distributed sites to participate in Dick Joyce's event or contribute something in advance?
Well, let's put Lori Allen on the spot. I saw Lori. Is Lori still on? Can you speak to what your thinking is at the moment? Is Lori still here? Yes, she is.
Yeah.
I see her face. I see her icon. Lori, are you with us? Well, if not, let's understand this. When we make the announcement, let's connect on that. I think we're going to do it probably in the library here, and we'll try to set up a Zoom feed for those who want to participate, who want to listen, who want to share stories. I think it's important in a really unfortunate event like this that we take a positive attitude, let people share their stories and hear other stories. So we'll make sure that we have connections to Chile and Hawaii.
All right, that's all the questions that I have from the chat. And so if anybody has a question that they want to just speak up and ask, they should feel free to do so at this time.
I have one. Is it possible to have a brief script to accompany that video that's going to be posted for those of us who want to use it?
Sure, I think we can put.
Helping to tell the story of what we do.
Yeah, I think we can put that together. I'm looking at Ron and asking how would we then connect it to video? Can we somehow make a link or something where then there's a little bit of a narrative that explains to people who are not familiar with what it actually is conveying?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. The video itself doesn't have narration, but the intent was for a presenter to narrate it. And so I think what you're asking for is spot on, and we could add that to the page that I posted there.
The Word document that goes out that the person who's presenting it can read from. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, certainly.
I see Andy's hand is up.
Yeah, sorry, I posted this in the chat, but I can say it. It's a question for Stuart, actually. It's so you mentioned prioritizing the various ideas that come up in the science and DMS discussions. Is that the same prioritization process as for the rest of the lab's projects? I'm interested in how we get the absolute level of priority, right?
Yeah, I mean, so this is something that Kevin McLaughlin and I have been talking a little bit about. How do we merge everything in together? And one of the bits of feedback that's come from a variety of angles is in that process, we should really allow some definition of subgroup to internally prioritize their things first before we go to the integration of all of the different lists. So I kind of imagine that the sort of, say, user-facing tools that would benefit, people, that area might get its own internal prioritization through that process before we go through the global merging. So eventually that all gets folded in, but I think our goal was to allow the subgroups to submit some order amongst their own things, so we could try to respect that or use that at least in the process.
Okay. So it's like a TAC and an ITAC.
Yeah, sure. But just once a year.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I think there was a question from Gary about Reflect Orbital. I wonder if Connie Walker, if you want to comment on where that stands and what it might mean.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Right now, it's been approved by the FCC for them to launch their prototype.
We want to explain what Reflect Orbital is.
I'm sorry. Reflect Orbital is a sunlight as a service company. So they're going to be able to beam sunlight down to about a 5-kilometer footprint on the ground before, making the night into a day for about 2 hours more at the beginning of the night and 2 hours later at the end of the night. And it's going to be fairly bright. There's going to be very consequential, especially within 10 years when they want to put 50,000 of these in orbit. So there's been a lot of work by various other astronomy organizations to try to meet with them and convince them otherwise, or to make mitigation solutions. But we haven't really seen too many results as of yet. We're still hoping. And then what else can I tell you? That's about all I think I can tell you at the moment. That's a high level summary. But if you want to know more, please come find me and ask me.
Yeah. But their business model is to illuminate like parties and sporting events, which could be fairly pricey. Illuminating solar panels, well, it's only about the brightness of the full moon. So you're not going to get a lot of power out of your solar panels with this. So
yeah.
I think some of us are optimistic that the business model will be what brings them down rather than protests. But the American Astronomical Society under DARA has worked hard to make sure that our views were presented to the FCC, so they heard from the scientific community about this before making
yes.
it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it takes a lot of them to get enough energy down to solar farms, say, for instance. And they only have like I don't know, very short time across the sky at any location. So they do have to have one after the other in succession. And it's going to be the model for actually making this happen is it's very in question. But they have gotten the backing, the funding, and the insurance. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Exactly. I don't know if Dara, you wanted to comment on this before we go to Joanna, or did you have your hand for something else?
Yeah, I did. I don't think we should expect that the model will just bring them down. They have a lot of friends, I think, on the Hill. We have been, the AAS has information on how you can let your congressional representatives know that this is of a concern. And I can put a link to that in the chat, although I'll have to find it, so it might have to go out to people in other ways, like through Slack. But we have been working on this. There was a congressional hearing today where it got brought up that I heard. So we're really trying to mitigate this issue.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. Joanna.
Coming back to the DMS update, I was curious, the way you presented it, it seems like, sort of, that's how we're going to do new stuff. Great. Looks, really positive and forward looking. How do we get there with with our current projects? How do we migrate our current the current way we're doing things towards that model? What's the process going to look like?
Do you mean that, like, You mean for the input side, so the part that I addressed. You're not trying to get me to talk about the internal DMS workings, I guess. I mean, I think the prioritization process gives us some hope of something that we're building on. Pat and I had a great meeting yesterday with some of the folks that were on the SOC for the big data meeting, and I think we had some ideas we were kicking around there about how to set up the scientists to have a structure where that allows everybody to give input but doesn't flood the DMS leadership with thousands of ideas all at once. I probably don't want to go too much into detail with that because I'd kind of like to talk to a few other principles in that before we get too far along the lines. But I mean, we are actively thinking about it. And I mean, one of the things I didn't talk about in detail, but to me, maintaining the scientist as being able to do experimentation or, however you want to call it, has to be a component of this. And so I think for me, the question is, how does that actually work itself into the process is still a little green for me in my mind, at least for that part of the input. But
So I was actually meaning on the internal side, how do we get to this more agile development?
Well, I mean,
system that from where we are today. And I'll just also notice that James is asking about extra resources. It's related to my question, actually, in the how do we get from where we are now to where we want to be?
Okay. I mean, I think, this is more of a Hubert question than a me question. But I mean, I can tell you we are kind of rolling it out in subgroups and trying to evolve in that direction. But I will say is that we've been getting guidance that we need to hurry it along in that regard. So I need to go back to Hubert and Arturo and other folks on this call and say, okay, how can we ramp this up a bit more quickly? And that may go to the question of disruption versus extra resources versus that.
Any further questions or comments? We're ahead of schedule for once. All right. Well, if not, thanks to all the speakers and thank you all for joining. I know it's a commitment of time and we appreciate all of you participating. We'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.